Thanks for tuning in to High on Horror. I'm Drew.
And I'm John. This episode and every future episode is dedicated to all the horror hounds and smokers out there who want to expand their knowledge of the genre and have a good time.
One of the great things about being a fan of horror cinema is that through the good and bad horror movies you watch and the ones you've seen a bunch of times that have just become comfort movies, you find that diamond in the rough. There's always that one movie that stands out above the rest that you've watched that hits all the right marks. It's truly unique and gets under your skin in all the right ways. Today we're reviewing the supernatural horror film Oddity, now playing in theaters. It's the latest from Ireland's own Damian McCarthy, who previously directed Caveat. If you haven't seen Caveat, it's available to stream on Shudder and is a must for any horror fan. Damian is with us today for an exclusive interview. He's going to spill his guts and tell us everything we need to know about Oddity, spoiler free. All that and more today on High on Horror. Interviews, reviews, and the latest news all rolled into one. If you hear that train, you know it's time to discuss this week's strain.
Welcome to Strain Wreck, the segment of our show where we tell you what strain we're getting wrecked on. And I got some Tropicana Cherry. I showed this to you earlier. This might be the most purple weed I've ever seen in my life.
It looks like
it is super dark.
It looks like a beautiful little Disney flower, like a purple Disney flower from like a princess movie.
And when I ground it up, it looked like it was more purple than anything else.
And it's like a dark, rich purple. It smells delicious, so I can't wait for this. And
apparently, though, it's a sativa dominant hybrid.
Okay.
It's of Tropicana cookies and cherry cookies. I've had Tropicana cookies.
Yeah.
Its dominant terpenes are limonene and carapholine, contributing to its flavor, aroma, and potential effects. Tropicana cherries recommended for lethargy. I've never seen that on there. Lack of focus and depression. The only thing it has on Leafly, somebody said that they used it both as a flower and a pre-rolled and enjoyed it both.
Okay.
That's literally the only review on there.
We'll have to start writing our own reviews.
But it is 18.84% THC. And the pre-rolled, I threw some diamond live resin in here. So there's little baby crack rocks.
All right, I can't wait. We'll spark that shit up, man. Well, let me get into like current events here while you do that. So first thing that I want to bring up, we're part of the Terra fam. Got to talk about the Terrifier 3 shit that came out earlier this week. Well, actually, this episode is going to be every Monday. So last week, all the Terrifier 3 stuff dropped. A new poster for those of you who have seen it. It looks amazing. For those of you who haven't, check it out. Seriously, it looks awesome. It's Art the Clown sitting in a chair in a Santa costume on with Victoria wearing the Jesus crown of thorns sitting in his lap. A really cool poster. Bloody Disgusting also released a teaser trailer that same day that confirms the date's October 11th, but it's a Christmas movie 100%, and that shit looks bloody. There's a shower scene with a glass door that just, however they edited it, it just makes it look like that scene's going to be something disgusting and brutal, so I can't wait for that. Very bloody trailer. Art making a snow angel out of
I thought you were going to skip over that.
No, that's crazy.
That was the thing that stood out to me in the trailer.
That's how bloody it is. And also, there was the sunflower glasses in Terrifier 2. This one, first thing, before the trailer even came out, there was the still images of Art wearing Christmas tree glasses. And those are already all over Facebook. People are finding ways to buy them or customize them to make them. So that's the new thing. So check out the trailer, check out the poster. You've seen both, right, John, obviously?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think I even sent the teaser in the group chat.
Yeah, I shared it, I think, right around the same time.
And, today I actually went and we got the screener for Oddity, but it came out in theaters, and I went to go see it by myself at 8:50 in the morning.
We got that screener a month ago. We've been sitting on our thoughts for this movie for a month. You know how hard that is? Well, you do know. People out there know that was hard waiting that long. But anyway, sorry.
They had a trailer for the American version of Speak No Evil. My God, that trailer gave literally everything away. A lot of we've already. I
saw it when I saw Long Legs. I agree.
We've already reviewed it, so you can go listen to our episode, and we spoke with Christian Tradiff about it. or Taftrim, my bad. It looks like a shot for shot. They gave away all the main stuff, like the kid. They show the kid without his fucking tongue in the trailer, and I was talking to Nicole about it because she'd already seen the trailer too. I'm like, that's one of the big, like, I don't, not necessarily a plot twist, but well, I guess it is a twist. But
it is absolutely was a twist. It wasn't because the whole time you didn't know that, and it also shows the dad like verbally abusing the kid when the kid can't dance properly. Like you said, it just seems like such a soulless shell of a remake.
And the other thing is, I told Nicole, like, maybe, hold on, let me hit this one more.
That was the best. Hold on, let me hit this one more.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
This is some good fucking weed, dude.
Yeah, it tastes fucking amazing.
Yes, it does.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while since I've watched Speak No Evil. They had the whole dinner scene where he's forcing her to eat the meat, even though she's a vegetarian.
Yeah.
And he says, James McAvoy says, doctor's orders.
Whew, them diamonds. I just got a diamond hit. Sorry, go ahead.
But he says doctor's orders.
Yeah.
And then later when the kid cuts his hand, he says he's not a doctor. Yeah, it's canoeing there, a little bit on there. It's fine.
Canoeing?
You never heard that term?
I've never heard that term.
It's perfect. It's canoeing. But in the trailer he goes, "Oh, I'm not a doctor." And then he goes, "I'm just kidding, I am." In the original, he doesn't do that. He doesn't say the part where he goes, yeah, I am a doctor. They just play it off as he goes, I never said that.
Yes.
Right?
You're correct. They insinuate and then he says, I never said that. As far as I remember, now granted, I saw it when you did. That was a screener. We saw it months before it came out.
And we watched it a couple times.
Yeah.
But that's the way I remembered it.
Yeah,
And Nicole said she remembered it that way too. And the other one is James McAvoy just looks fucking crazy from the start.
Yeah. I agree.
Maybe it's a language barrier from the Danish Dutch, but like I felt like I wish I could remember his name. The gentleman who played the other husband.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He was more just charismatic, it came across.
Yeah.
And you were kind of like, well, he seems a little over the top, but
yeah.
I just feel like James McAvoy, it's kind of almost
like what Stephen King said about Jack Nicholson.
Thank you. I was literally you just stole the words right from my mouth right now. I was going to say that like his complaint is Jack Torrance just seems crazy from the start, which I disagree with.
Yeah.
But that's almost how it feels in this one. Like James McAvoy, you're like, okay, there's something not right with him.
Right away. Agreed. You see
the other one, like, I mean, I even feel like both these families are supposed to be American in this one, as compared to cultural differences from opposite countries. And I feel like that more played into the whole, and I'm basing this all just on a fucking 2-minute trailer, but the original one you could just chalk it up to like, well, that's just maybe how their culture is. I don't know this. I don't have high hopes for the American version. It kind of seems like it's Psycho, the Vince Vaughn one, where it's just a remake of the movie.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not shot for shot because the dancing scene in this one is happening outside and it happened in the house in the original, if I remember. But in the sense of what you're saying, like what happens verbatim. I could see that. Anytime an extreme movie or extreme is such a word. I don't want to use that. Anytime like a disturbing movie.
I feel like Speak No Evil was more emotionally heavy.
It's disturbing. Anytime a movie's disturbing and they remake it, it's never good. They never recapture that. It's always soulless. Like I said, it's always a shell of what it's supposed to be because they're trying to say, because when they remake it, they say, hey, I can't just remake this. We have to add to it. So what do we add to it? Okay, we'll add whatever to it. And usually whatever they add to it is why the movie worked the way it did, because it didn't have that extra element or lack thereof. So I have no hopes for it. I'm going to check it out, but I don't. Yeah. They might try to be clever and twist something up at the end to make it so it's different. So it's always worth checking out. But the trailer didn't. I agree with you. The trailer did not leave me wanting to go. I'll pay to see that in theaters.
We already had. I wouldn't even say low expectations. I'd say tempered expectations on how we thought it was going to be, and it did nothing to make me.
The trailer, it didn't
go in the other direction. And I feel like we're gonna be those people pounding the pavement that are gonna be like, hey, you need to go see the Danish.
People going, there's an original, and then yeah, that's Danish. Oh, subtitles. I
And
can hear
not
it
really.
now. I can hear it now.
Like, that's the other thing is like, you have a lot of these Korean and Japanese movies get made in American. Makes sense because they're in Japanese and Korean. But even though this is a foreign film for us, and it's Danish, even though I don't understand all what they're saying, I understand.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I got a pretty rough idea of what's going on. But it's not even like that throughout the movie. A lot of it, they're just speaking English.
Yeah.
So I don't see the point why it needed to be remade.
I agree. Also, I wanted to bring up Trick or Treat Studios has put out a lot of goodies on their website to pre-order from San Diego Comic-Con reveals. There's all kinds of new shit that's just, if you're a movie fan or a horror fan, you need to get over there. Like, there's new Gremlin props from Gremlins 2 that just look amazing. There's a Gizmo, a couple other ones. There's Thundercats masks and a bunch of toys. They put some Goosebumps figures out based off of the book covers, not the show, but the book covers, which is great. I really, they're only $24.99,
Nice.
and I really want that Haunted Mask one. I always loved that artwork. Also, a bunch of Texas Chainsaw Massacre figures, including the family from the first film, like the Pa and the Hitchhiker and the grandfather. And there's a dinner. They even made a dinner scene playset that you can buy to recreate the dinner scene. There's a Billy the Puppet from Saw and an Art the Clown mini bust. It's all kinds of shit.
Yeah, I like Trick or Treat Studios. Last year I got my Halloween 3 sign that I got Tom Atkins and
That was
Stacy.
the Trick or Treat Studios thing?
Yeah.
No shit. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm really bragging because I didn't make it, but I was gonna say I got a lot of compliments on it. The last con I went to when
really
I met
cool.
I got Tom Atkins, Dick Warlock, and Stacy Nelk. Well, the most recent one I just got Stacy Nelkin and Dick Warlock to sign it, but I got Tom Atkins on there.
So, I mean, that's the three. You got one of those ones where it might not be like cast.
You don't even really need
signed.
Dick Warlock, but he was there.
That's what I'm saying. It's not one of those ones that's like cast signed. Like you might not have like Cochran, and stuff like that. But
That would be the ultimate, but
like who
I
you
can't
have,
really
I
get
think,
it
are
now.
The three. Who you who you have are the three. Tommy Lee Wallace would be cool to get. The
Yeah,
director,
that'd be a good one. But I feel, man, I feel like Tommy Lee Wallace is another one like Dick Warlock that I wouldn't expect that's somebody I'm going to spend a lot of money on, but I do.
Yeah.
Because like Dick Warlock, I got him to sign the Halloween 3 poster. I was like, well, shit, I got to get something from Halloween 2, and I got an 8x10 of him surprise finger in the butt.
Oh shit! I would have thought you would have went with Blood Tears, but that's a good choice too.
I almost went Blood Tears, but I'm like, man, I feel like that's the most like iconic scene from 2, really. It's him
surprise.
holding the nurse up.
Yeah. Surprise finger in the butt.
We're just going to start rambling about what we got in our collections. But next weekend, though.
That's right. Gonna add some signatures to some Hellraiser stuff, and you're gonna get to do some Nightmare
Finally
on Elm
going to get
Street
to meet
shit.
Robert Englund.
If you're at Monster Mania next weekend, which is the weekend of August, what is it? The
Second, third, and fourth.
Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Come up and see us. You should know what we look like. We ain't nothing special to look at, but
I would say the fat
Come say
guys,
hi.
but there's a lot of fat horror
we're at a
dudes.
horror con. There's gonna be a lot of fat dudes. Yeah, it's gonna happen. Well, we're the ones. We're not gonna be the smelly ones. We're not gonna smell
I
like
was going to
BO,
go there. I was
but
going to
we're
say, we
smell
will
like
be the
weed.
ones that are bathed.
We're gonna be the ones that are baked.
Bathed and baked. Anyway, let's move on.
Let's wrap up this
This is a
smoke
long
section and head
episode.
into horror history.
This week in horror history.
All right, going to get into some horror history. I feel like we've probably covered these before.
We do it every year, so we probably have. I'm sure there's a few that you've done, in the past where I've been like, I know for sure for Children of the Court, I feel like it's popped up like 3 times.
Yeah, and I was going to say, because we're starting here on yesterday, Sunday the 28th. For births, we have Bruce Abbott from Reanimator, 1954. And I feel like we've done this because I feel like we've brought these two films both up before, 10 years apart, 1989 and 1999. Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, and Deep Blue Sea in 1999. I feel like we've talked about those before.
We have, absolutely.
And now moving on to the 29th today, Maria Ospinskaya. when I wasn't high and at work,
We were supposed to look names up before.
I know, dude. I had it. I swear, I was writing out horror history and Open Skies. There you go.
Okay, there you go.
I had it down, but then the fucking diamonds and the fucking dabs before we got on fucking got me.
Get it together. We got a long episode.
She was in The Wolfman and Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. 1949. I don't think I said her year. 1876.
Okay.
1949. Leslie Easterbrook. He's been in some Rob Zombie films.
Yeah.
1962. Kevin Spiritus. He was Nick from The New Blood.
Okay. Nice to get
Friday the
a little nod.
13th. 1972. Because I feel like we've done this. Because you always do your. Go ahead. I'll let you do this one.
Will Wheaton.
I feel like we brought this up before. 73, we got Steven Dorff, or if I put in here, Stefanin. I don't. Did you see that? I wasn't even high. Well, I probably was.
Yeah, you're always high.
Yeah, that's fair. Films, 1959, The Tingler. That was one of my dad's favorites. He always liked that one.
I always thought that sounded like a horror porn.
Right. 1988, Monkey Shines.
It's a good movie.
2002, Signs.
Another one.
And moving on to the 30th. First, we have Victor Wong, 1927. 1947, we got Schwarzenegger.
Get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper. Hold on, real quick. Have you ever seen the video where they talk about Predator and the prank he pulled on Jesse Ventura?
I've seen so many, I'm sure, but go ahead.
He said, there's a clip and it's Jesse Ventura, and he goes, so they were taping out our arms, and I taped out 1 inch bigger than Mr. Olympia's, and that makes Jesse Ventura feel pretty good. And then it cuts to Schwarzenegger, and he goes, oh, so then my joke worked. I told them, whatever I tape at, tell Jesse he taped out 1 inch bigger. So then Jesse comes to talk to me, and I said, oh, he said, we should bet whose arms are bigger. And I went, oh, of course we should.
Oh.
And he said, Jesse goes, yeah, he goes, I think maybe we should bet a bottle of champagne on it. And Arnold was like, yeah, I think we should. He's like, so then we go to the gym and he finds out that my arms are bigger.
That's good. Set his ass up. I didn't hear that one. That was good.
1961, Lawrence Fishburne, or as he was first known, Larry. I don't know why. I don't like Larry Fishburne.
No, I don't either.
1964, Vivica A. Fox. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
1969, Simon Baker. 1970, really no reason to put him on here, but Christopher Nolan.
Gotta mention him.
1974, Swank Dog, Hilary Swank. 1977, Jamie Presley.
I don't know, the way you wrote that, I read Presley. I don't know.
Presley. Presley. 1982, Yvonne Strahovski. I mean, fucking Hannah McKay.
Oh, your girl.
About the only good thing about the final seasons of Dexter. Films, 1961, we got Mothra. 82, Swamp Thing. 1993, So I Married an Axe Murderer. 1999, The Blair Witch Project, and 2004, The Village. And then moving on here to the 31st, for births, 1914, Mario Bava. 1932, Ted Casey. 1935, Jeffrey Lewis. And 1956, Michael Flick the Bean.
That got me. That was good.
Films, 1987, The Lost Boys,
Fuck
and 2009, The Collector.
Yes, two good ones. Two fucking good movies.
And then we move on to August. On the 1st, for films, 1953, Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's got to be one of the longest
Movie
titles. I guess probably the longest one's got to be Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. That's probably going to be the longest, but this is up there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still just giggling at the fact that you left the Will Wheaton part for me. It just got back to me. That just hit me again. Sorry.
1954, Rear Window. 1968, Destroy All Monsters. 1971, The Omega Man. And 1986, check it out. We did a 35th anniversary episode on it. Friday the 13th, Jason Lives.
John's favorite in the series.
The best. Oh, man, I don't have my glasses on. I can't hold out my notes that far. And August 2nd on Births, we got 1931, Wes Craven.
That's 39, brother.
What did I say? 31?
Yeah.
Damn. 9 and 1s look pretty alike. But yeah, 39. Wes Craven. 1953, Butch Patrick, who played Eddie Munster. 1970, Kevin Smith. And 1977, Edward Furlong. And films. Oh, man. Now my favorite vampire. And vampire movie, and I feel like I've said this before.
We just mentioned mine, which was Lost Boys, so here comes yours.
Yeah, Fright Night. 1999, The Sixth Sense. 2000, Hollow Man. 2001, The Others.
The Others is solid.
And then get in here to the third for births. 1940, we have Martin Sheen. 1950, John Landis, and in 1985, his son Max.
No shit.
1959, John McGinley. 1979, Georgina Haig. And for films, we got Piranha. And then 1993, Gojira versus Mechagodzilla.
Oh, yeah.
Released in 1999 is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
That's the best Godzilla and Mechagodzilla movie out there, by the way. That's a solid-ass movie.
And 1996, Mosura, which was released in 1999 as Rebirth of Mothra.
Excellent. Good week in horror history for sure.
It's funny they released them in America both in 1999. So we got lucky, but we did have to wait like 6 and 3 years for the movies.
Yeah.
But
a little delay.
Yeah, that'll wrap up Horror Hiss. Yeah, so go ahead and take us into PPA, Drew.
Yo, man. Puff, puff, pass.
And now it's time for Puff Puff Ask, the segment of our show where we read off mail that you listeners send in to us via social media or email at highonhorror420@gmail.com. David James from Galveston, Texas wrote us. He said, my wife and I's divorce just finalized, and I'm really feeling beat up about it. I'm looking for a horror movie to take my mind off of things. Can you fellas give me some horror movies about heartbreak to take my mind off of things? First of all, David, we're really sorry to hear that you're going through that, and thank you for listening. We'd be happy to throw some movies your way, absolutely. I'd start with My Bloody Valentine. You've probably seen it, but it's always going to hit no matter what. It always slaps. If you haven't, there's no better time. Also, The Loved Ones is a hard-hitting dark comedy. Definitely recommend that one for heartbreak and love. And, of course, Bride of Chucky for fun's sake. I'd say throw that in just to fuck around. Sometimes, when you're in that dark state of mind, a silly movie like Bride of Chucky is really what you need. That really hits the spot. And Phantom of the Paradise. John, what do you have suggestions for David?
Shit. Zombieland.
Oh, that's a good one.
He's always getting left by Emma Stone. I'd be simping for her, too. And he finally gets the girl next door in the apartment he always likes. She just has to get attacked by somebody to come to him, but then she turns into a zombie, so you got that. There's an unconventional one for you.
No, yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that one. That's pretty good.
And Spooky Doll on Instagram messaged us and said, hey, have you seen the new First Omen? Any opinions? I mean, yes, we have opinions. We have a whole episode on it. I think it was just a couple episodes ago, right?
Yeah. What he said.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm looking it up. Because it's got to be what, like 2 episodes?
2 episodes ago, about, probably.
Fucking...
This is a recent message as well, so...
Yeah, Jesus. Fuck it. Oh, now it finally wants to come up right after I say fuck it.
What was it? 2 episodes ago, right?
Yeah, it was review number 60, and this is, this is episode... whatever. Fuck it, never mind.
Come on,
57. Anyway, so yeah,
it's
just go back. It's 2 episodes.
Yeah, what he said. Now let's get into our review of Oddity.
All right, let's get into Oddity here. Dani, played by Carolyn Bracken, the wife of psychiatrist Ted Timmis, played by Gwendolyn Lee, is brutally murdered while she's renovating their new country house alone one night. That evening, Olin Boyle? It was Boyle. Played by Tag Murphy, a former patient of Ted's, visited Dani and warned her about a stranger in the house. Olin's convinced of the murder, but later found dead in his room at a psychiatric hospital. A year later, Dani's twin sister Darcy, also played by Carolyn Bracken, who is blind and has psychometric powers, is visited by Ted at an oddity shop in Cork. They plan to meet again soon. A few days later, Darcy arrives unexpectedly at the country home where Ted now lives with his new girlfriend, Yana, played by Carolyn Menton, a pharmaceutical rep. Before Darcy arrives, a large crate containing a life-size wooden mannequin from Darcy's collection is delivered, which she plans to use to uncover the truth about Dani's murder. Ted leaves for his night shift at the hospital, leaving Darcy alone with Yana, who wants to leave, but she can't because she can't find her car keys. The two women have a tense conversation before Darcy falls asleep on the couch. Yana becomes frightened when she notices the mannequin mysteriously moving around the house. So I think we'll kind of leave it there for the spoiler-free. Carolyn Bracken does good at both roles.
Agreed.
But did you want to give your review?
Yeah, absolutely. Oddity starts with an opening scene that makes you say, I'm going to stick around and see what this is about. No spoilers, but it's in the trailer. It's creepy. Anyway, the continuation of the opening scene later in the film has a really good jump scare. And although what happens is brutal, Damian has a way when he directs of not showing the violence, yet it's still brutal from the intensity of the situation. And there's another part of the film that involves a camera and a corner. I know it sounds funny, a camera and a corner. If you see the movie, you know. And that it made me audibly scream. I went, "Oh shit!" And my big ass almost left my seat. It was one of the hardest scares that I've had in a while, and it wasn't one of those cheap little and then it's over. No, it was one of those ones where 2 minutes later I'm still going, motherfucker, my heart was still pounding, you know. People love to say the films have that Hitchcockian suspense, but this is the real deal. We need more horror films that use this classic style of suspense like this. The story was clever, well crafted. Like you said, Carolyn Bracken is brilliant as the blind psychic. The movie works so well on so many levels, and one of those levels is because the music doesn't tell you when to be scared. It doesn't clap at you when something's about to happen or build up when something's about to happen. Caveat did the same thing. Some of the scariest parts have no music. Solid ending. It comes off like a top tier Tales from the Crypt episode or a really good movie. 9.5 out of 10.
As I mentioned, I saw it again today in theaters before we recorded, and I was by myself just ripping my pen and just
in the theater. That's amazing.
And just being creeped out.
Like I said, I always want to do that. I don't. I'm too scared. You have more guts.
I'm the only one in there.
You've always been more open about it than me.
I mean, what's the worst? They're gonna tell me to leave. I would leave and go to the theater anyway. The Wooden Man is generally creepy. This movie, you pointed out about it, started strong. Yeah, it starts strong, and it went all that way through the entire 98-minute runtime.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was just on edge the entire movie. So many scenes that subvert your expectations as well. I wish I could talk more about the spoilers, especially the ending. Mm-hmm. This is a top horror movie of the year for sure.
Yeah.
The camera work was on point as well, and it felt like a movie that can happen at any point for the most part. It doesn't feel confined to a certain time period. I mean, I guess maybe because they have cell phones, but I mean, that leaves it wide open still.
Yeah.
I thought I was being high, and you topped me with a 9.5. I gave it a 9 out of 10 as well.
Okay, sweet.
But now let's dig deeper into the film with a round of Burn and Learn.
Oh.
Burn and learn.
All right, now it's time for Burn and Learn, the segment of our show where we tell you listeners trivia facts about the movies we review. This isn't stuff you'd find on IMDb or anywhere else. We actually had these sent to us by Damian himself.
I'll go first. The title Oddity can refer to the haunted items or to each character in the movie. Olin, Dani, Darcy, Ivan, Ted, Yana. Oddivty. That is awesome. I never put that together.
I did not notice that. That is pretty interesting. The scene where Ted and Ivan are playing chess in the office, Ivan says aloud his move before walking out, Rook to Knight 6, checkmate. This is the same chess move MacReady uses at the beginning of The Thing before he destroys his chess wizard.
That's another good one. Oddity is filmed in the same location of Bantry House in Ireland as Damian's first film, Caveat. It is clear it's the same exterior location when comparing the scene in Oddity where Darcy arrives at the ending of Caveat with Olga standing at the door of the house.
Comedian Joe Rooney plays Bernie, the cannibal that's kept in a bite mask for much of the movie. It was a lifelong goal of director Damian McCarthy to work with Joe ever since seeing him in a much beloved Irish sitcom called Father Ted. The sitcom follows three priests living together on a small island off of the coast of Ireland. Many Irish comedians guest starred in one episode, and it solidified their fame forever in Ireland. To see Joe Rooney's episode, see Old Grey Whistle Theft.
This last one is really interesting. This one hit pretty hard when I read it. Very interesting here. In 1996, a woman was murdered in West Cork, in the next town over from where Oddity was filmed. She was a French film producer. It is Ireland's most well-known murder case, and it was never solved. The woman was found beaten to death, having been alone in her house. Damian said that he never thought of the similarities between this real-life murder case and his film until after filming. The chief suspect in the murder case was a former journalist, and that journalist actually showed up on set during the production of Oddity to do a story on the movie. Much to the shock of some of the crew who were familiar with the murder case and the allegations of his involvement, Damian declined the interview as he was busy. The journalist has since died. And this, of course, is the Sophie Tuscan de Plantier murder, and there has been many books written about. There's been much written about it, alongside true crime podcasts and documentaries. All right, well, let's take an even deeper dive into Oddity with the director himself, Damian McCarthy. Today's guest is the writer and director of Oddity, Damian McCarthy. Thanks for being on High on Horror.
Great, thanks for having me.
So you're on High on Horror, and I ask every guest, it's always the first question. Are you a smoker? Do you consume cannabis?
No, not at the moment anyway, no.
Has it ever helped you, like, in any during any of your creative processes for anything, any writing or anything like that?
It's funny, I know people that do, but I always had that thing trying to keep it seems hard enough to, get anything written or get any work done with a clear mind for me. So it's more like, I guess, maybe more of a reward for once something is done. But no, it's not really. Okay,
no, that's I totally respect that answer.
And you said growing up that your parents owned a VHS rental shop. How much time did you spend in there as a kid?
I mean, it was their business, so it would have been I think the shop maybe lasted about 10 years or so. What they used to do in Ireland was, like, usually somebody would have a shop as kind of like a base for somebody who was an electrician or whatever it would be. And then once that side of the job took off, the shop would usually close. So I guess about 10 years, but it was during those really important young years when you're first, falling in love with movies and scared by movies and fascinated by it. So I think it got me at the right time for sure.
And you'd mentioned you had movie posters of Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play. Did you save any of those posters from the years throughout the years? Do you still have them?
Oh God, I wish I did. I had everything. We have photographs of, like, when we were young, in like the late 80s and 90s, and you'd see these amazing posters of Predator, and I had everything on the wall. Child's Play and all this stuff, Alien, and it's. I mean, I guess I had no value in it. It was probably like the new batch of posters has come into the shops. I probably just tore it down and threw it away and stuck up the next poster, and just, I wish I'd thought ahead.
And given those poster choices, I'd say that you obviously love slashers. Would you ever want to make a slasher of your own?
I wouldn't. It's funny because there is certain subgenres of horror that I love them. I really like watching them, but I wouldn't know what to do with them. I don't think I'd be any good at them. Like, in terms of where you put the camera, how do you make something original? I mean, I touched on it a little bit with Oddity. You have that kind of home invasion, or that threat of a kind of a psychopath that's found his way into the house. But to make one solid, they're so well done. I don't think I'd be much good at it, to be honest. Unless maybe I'll come up with a good idea for one someday, but right now, no.
And do you have a favorite subgenre of horror?
Usually anything supernatural, anything with, like, the haunted house. But that said, like my favorite film is probably Carpenter's The Thing. We were at a film festival recently, and they had a retrospective screening of They Live, which was amazing on the big screen. It was my first time seeing it, and that fight that just goes on and on in the audience, that the cheer in the audience when he finally gets Keith David to put on those glasses. Yeah, I mean, I like all that kind of stuff, but again, it's I keep coming back to anything with ghosts or that kind of cursed storyline.
So you're a fan of Prince of Darkness then, since you're a Carpenter fan?
Yeah, it's great. And that's such a strange story. I mean, if you go back and look at that, it's like what is this? Is it a science fiction? Is it a fantasy? There's horror. There's kind of a siege movie element to it. It's such a mishmash of stuff. It kind of shouldn't work, but it does, because it's just this. It's a wild film.
It's just John Carpenter. That's all it is. It's like
there you
John
go.
Carpenter.
Yeah.
Before we get into the more juicier stuff, I wanted to ask you, you're in Ireland, you're from Ireland. Are there any good Irish horror films you could recommend to us and our listeners?
Oh, yeah. So we got You Are Not My Mother. We got Lee Cronin's Hole in the Ground. He did The Evil Dead. Let me see. The Boys from County Hell is quite a good comedy horror. Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch more now that I'll think of as soon as we finish talking. But yeah, there's some stuff to seek out for sure. Those would be 3 good ones to start.
Awesome. Well, thank you for those recommendations. I've seen Hole in the Ground, and that one was solid.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so Damian, what made you want to be a filmmaker? And at what age did you know, hey, that's what I want to do?
Think probably since forever, but it was one of those things where it's like an impossibility. I mean, I grew up in the southwest of Ireland, and I think even if you grow up in LA, in the heart of the film industry, it's still just a tricky business to get into. And this would have been in like the 80s and 90s as well. So like there was no. This was before digital, or you had all this easy access to equipment and stuff like this, where you can actually just go out and make a film. The only people that had really done it then and broke through with zero contact seemed to be the Kevin Smiths, the Robert Rodriguez's shooting on 16 mil. I really wanted to do it, and I think I was studying to be an electrician. My dad, my brother, my cousins are all electricians, and it was just, it's fine, it's a good job, but I just didn't really have any passion for it. I just I love films. Really, I just wanted to have something to do with films to make a living, and I was in my last year of college and I saw The Evil Dead 2, and I'd never seen it before. And I thought it was pretty good that I'd seen a lot, and I was like 18. And I was like, well, that's it. I watched that movie every day and was like, that is fucking it. I've got to figure out how to make films. It was just, this film is so good. And it's still amazing. I still watch it, and still, there's still stuff I never get bored watching. It's still funny, and there's stuff in it it's just such a brilliant horror film. But that was it. It was just, I got to figure out how to do this. So I think by the time I was 21 or 22, I just decided I'll go back as a mature student to college. I'd left school when I was like 15. And I said, I'll go back for this 3-year course to just to learn filmmaking in a little college we have here in Cork. I live in Cork City in Ireland. And it was St. John's College. And we shot it was good. It was 3 years of that. And digital was just about starting to kind of, it was on the horizon and it was coming. But we were still shooting on 16 mil, 8 mil. And that was it. It was pretty much, that's really where it absolutely began. It was like, okay, I'm gonna lock into this and just see if I can do it. But then, I mean, it's, I'm 43 now, and I kind of feel like my career has only started. So it's a good, even to make caveat, it was still a good 15, 16 year slog of making short films and so much rejection and just writing scripts and nobody will read them. And, such a slow process, but I think it would be quicker now. I think if you were setting out now to be a filmmaker, it's got to be easier just because of technology, and just because you've so much more access to, to even information or inspiration, stuff that'll spur you on, like how to make a short film, or there's so much that you can learn online from video essays or just listening to other people who've done it. So it's it's a better time for it for sure.
And you had mentioned your short films. You've made a handful of those as well. I'd say the most popular has to be He Dies at the End, and that ending got me good. I well done. What made you decide to do that in black and white?
Budgetary reasons. It's like it just hides. It hides all of your. It just hides the fact that you've no budget. I mean, the guy, this like my best friend, starring in it, and he built the sets on Cavity and or Caveat, and he worked on Oddity, and I had made a lot of short films in college, and I couldn't get them screened in film festivals, or they were just dead. Like nobody wanted to do anything with them, and it's quite disheartening. But I think it was just because I didn't really know what a short film was. It's kind of like telling a joke. It doesn't really have to have a three-dimensional characters. It can be quite short. You can really get to the point. It's more just like a scene. So when he dies at the end, it was just like, let's just make something very short because it'll be easy to program at a festival if we can submit it. And just something that's just about building tension. Not really any plot, no character, just about how to craft a scare and kind of get people hooked into it. And that was the first thing I'd made that worked. Everything else I'd made before that was a disaster. It was too long. It was just way too much going on for a short. And then it was just things like that. It was the black and white. We recorded it without any sound, so every sound in it I had to go back and put it in myself afterwards with sound design. But thank God for that short. Because I think that gave me a little bit of confidence to to start making more complicated short films or things that are a bit more ambitious.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of short films. It's one of my favorite parts of film festivals. What draws you to making shorts?
It's just the unpredictability of them. I love going to film festivals too and sitting down at a short film showcase. You've no idea what you're getting in for. Like it can be, you'll see some absolutely amazing short films but you don't know how violent they're going to be. You don't know if they're going to be funny, if they're going to be disturbing. I'd be a lot more nervous. I wouldn't be great at certain types of violence on screen, but I'd always be a little bit more nervous in a good way excited sitting down to a short film showcase going, okay, what are we in for here? Because this could be anything goes here now for the next hour or so, however long the program is. I love finding that kind of those real gems at a film festival.
Yeah, I like that. I guess that is the way I feel about shorts. I just never thought of it that way. It's like, you don't know what you're getting into. You just got a title and you're like, okay.
Yeah, that's it. Here we go.
And another one of your shorts I wanted to talk about real quick was Hatch. Seems like this dude has bubble guts in a tub and then lays a giant egg. Where did the idea for that come from?
I'll tell you exactly where it comes from. This way I always tell people that it's good to watch more than horror films or let's say if you wanted to be whatever you think your preferred genre is, it's good just to watch as many different things as you can because these ideas and inspirations will come from anywhere. I was watching, Hatch was the film I made after he dies at the end, and I was watching Annie Hall, and at the end of Annie Hall, Woody Allen tells a joke where he says, "My cousin, I'm going to butcher it now, but it's something like my cousin thinks he's a chicken." And they said, well, why don't you get him some help? And he says, well, it's because we need the eggs. And he's kind of using this as like a way to talk about relationships. And I just thought I was watching it. Obviously, the point was missed on me because I thought, that's quite cool. A guy who lays an egg. I wonder what would come out of that egg. And that was kind of the kickoff point for it from that joke at the end of Annie Hall. And then it was just, I was really getting into the thing at the time and just the kind of, and the Evil Dead obviously as well, but their kind of reverse motion and just kind of practical effects. And I think it just after he dies at the end, I really wanted to see if I could, to see what I could do with practical effects in this old bar that we used to drink in. And, and that was kind of it was a mix of, so I guess it was a mix of The Thing and Annie Hall is what that film is about. Should be our tagline.
Well, I'd like to say congratulations on Oddity, man. Oddity is sitting comfortably at a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I really, really love the way how you create these odd little weird situations and scenarios, and then you just fill them with masterclass dread and suspense. It's truly unique, and we absolutely love the film.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really happy with how it's being received. And obviously, everybody who makes a film, you just hope that people will like it and that it'll find an audience. So yeah, I'm feeling good about it. It's great.
And I got to ask, you had told me that you were showing the movie in South Korea and Switzerland. What were the reactions like for the film over there?
It was really good. I'd never been to South Korea before. Um, so I hadn't seen the first time I saw the film play, bar one test screening about 2/3 of the way through the audience was in Dublin, and it was great. People were kind of laughing and screaming at the right parts, and just great. We know where to tighten this up and to do a little bit more work on it. But then the first place I'd seen it was at South by Southwest in Texas, and the reception there was brilliant. And then I hadn't seen it again until last or 2 weeks ago now at NIF in Switzerland, and it was great. Really good reaction again.
That's
Felt
awesome.
a little bit like South by Southwest, and then in Baifan it was funny in South Korea. They seemed very very respectful in terms of like. It was a very quiet screening. I was thinking, oh shit, I don't know if this is playing well because there'd be a scare, and you could see people jump, but they'd kind of almost turn and look at each other and give a little laugh, and you're kind of going, I don't know if this is bombing, but I don't know, was it just a cultural thing or what it was? But it played really, it did play really well, and I talked to loads of people afterwards, and they loved it, because when the film finished, you do a little bit of a Q&A, and really good questions, and just a good feeling towards the film, which was great. And obviously, I'm a big fan of South Korean cinema, so just for me to go down there was a thrill, and to talk to journalists about directors that I like from the place, and it's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool, man. And I just want to say that I love your movies. Both of them I think are really amazing. They really are. I loved both of them, and I wanted to ask you, having a history of doing short films, and what was the differences between filming Oddity and Caveat, being as your first and second feature films? What were the differences in the filming of those?
I think with Caveat's a first film, and first films they're just notoriously difficult. I think even if we had a tiny like micro budget for that, and it was all family and friends helping me make it. I think you just have you. I would imagine that most, and I read a lot about this, about filmmakers, what it was like for their first experience making feature films. It's just difficult because I think you usually, if you're going to make a feature film, it's probably something you've wanted to do your whole life. So whether you get a budget or you don't, either way, you're going to find yourself on set going, okay, we're finally doing this. This is my chance to try to do this for a living, whatever it's going to be. Because I worked 20 years on construction sites, so it was like, this is my dream. I'd love to be making movies. So there is that pressure on it. It really feels like I can't make a mess of this. This is because if you make a film and it bombs or disappears, even if it didn't really have any budget, it's still tied to you, and you're still connected to this thing that people go, well, he made one before and nobody really cared. But thankfully, it did find an audience for a small film, and it eventually led to making Oddity. Oddity was just different. I just think with Oddity, I was just able to take mistakes that I'd learned from Caveat, both narratively, in terms of how the film was structured, even just in terms of my own attitude towards filmmaking, and maybe not putting so much pressure on myself. And obviously with Oddity, the big thing was like we had a team of people that was like a team of like a production designer with her team, and my cinematographer with all of his guys, and there's a costume department, there's a hair department. We none of that on Caveat. So it was Oddity was my first time really on a film set. You've got a first assistant director. You've all these things that it's very difficult to make a film on your own. So just having that, support behind you, where it's not just you that's constantly driving the film. There's a team of people there that really like the story, and they think, yeah, this could be a good film if it works out. If we can get it off the page successfully, then this could be good. That was the main difference. I think I just enjoyed it a lot more, because you felt like, okay, I'm part of a team here. We're all making this thing together.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations again. And speaking of the crew and the team, I keep noticing a name, Miriam McCarthy. Is that any relation to you? Is that your wife or sister or anything? I've seen them tied to Caveat and Oddity, so I had to ask.
Yeah, that's my sister Miriam. She's a brilliant makeup artist. She works on all the big movies here in Ireland, and everything, and all the big the big stars that we have here filming. So she's amazingly talented, and she's a big horror fan as well, which is good. So yeah, that's Maroon.
All right, awesome. So I'm glad I asked. I was like, I figured there might be some tie there. So the rabbit, the creepy little rabbit from Caveat, makes a cameo in Oddity. Was that an Easter? Well, that was obviously an Easter egg, but was that just an Easter egg, like a wink, or was that you trying to say that Oddity takes place in the same universe as Caveat?
think, well, I don't have the bunny for Caveat anymore, and that bunny was designed by. I had done something similar in Hatch. Speaking of Hatch, I had done this at the end of Hatch as the egg is hatching. There's a cymbal monkey and a drumming bunny on the shelf, and they start to drum as the egg is hatching. Sorry. Excuse me. So I liked that idea. I liked the idea that these toys could that they could announce that something is something evil or something's coming. And it was just an idea that I carried over into Caveat, but I knew I didn't want to just find old antique toys. I wanted to make it. And there's an artist here in Cork called Lisa Zagon. It just has this wonderful aesthetic, the way she makes things. She can make things look very old, or I don't know. I can't describe it. She's a brilliant artist. So she did the bunny for us. I gave her a few ideas of what I wanted this thing to look like. I think it was an old Jim Henson Alice in Wonderland movie with this very disturbing. It's a kids movie, but it's this 80s kids movie, but it's where Alice has dinner with the tea party with the Mad Hatter and the bunny, but the bunny just looks really fucked up. He's really kind of decayed and falling apart. So that's a really good example. Like that's the kind of thing, and it was an old Alice in Wonderland Russian movie. We kind of pitched that I used the thing, but she came back with this bunny anyway. And then when Oddity came out, I knew that the room was going to be full of haunted objects, so just wanted something from Lisa again, just to work with her. And she said she wouldn't make a bunny, but it was more like a hare. It was going to be a bigger kind of. I don't know if it comes across on camera, but it's kind of if you hold the two of them, it's quite bigger and newer. And she gave it the symbols for the edit, which was great. It's just a nod. I think it's, again, it's wanting to work with Lisa again. And I mean, she's got a very particular style. And again, it's a little bit of a nod to Hatch and to Caveat that, that there are these toys out there that can kind of let you know that something's up. But there's no grand scheme of, it's building towards some, Avengers style haunted universe.
Well, what's the story with the rabbit? I guess you just said like the idea came up from like the Alice in Wonderland and stuff like that. So you really didn't necessarily picture it necessarily being a rabbit that came back. That was just some ideas, and then she came back with a rabbit, and that was how it worked. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah. Well, I guess the idea would be that, like in Hatch, I knew just for the edit that I'd need as the egg is hatching, and I storyboard a lot, and you kind of find these things as you're storyboarding. That I said, well, the egg just can't hatch, and we're done. I know I'll need to cut between the actor's face and the egg slowly hatching, but it felt very flat. It felt like you needed something in between them. So I thought, okay, if I put these toys on the shelf, this bunny, for example, I'd found this little old bunny on in Hatch. I'd found him on eBay. And I said, well, if I could have him drumming to kind of announce like that drum roll that this thing is coming, it would just make the film funnier, or it would be something in the edit to cut to, that kind of insert. And I just really liked the idea, and it pretty much just got carried over then into Caveat. It was like, well, take that and just make a bigger deal of it, that this toy can sense that when something is up.
Awesome. I hope that there's somebody out there at some point that makes that thing. I would love to have a little prop of that guy sitting up in like my glass cabinet somewhere.
If I had $1 for every email or message I've gotten saying, where can I buy one of those bunnies? I'd love to have one of those. I was going, I don't know. I don't have any.
Well, okay, same question, but I guess about the wooden person in Oddity. Was that something that you made up, or was that something that you've pulled from folklore somewhere? Because that whole idea and concept of the wooden person and everything that goes with it was just watching it. I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like, I've never seen anything like this.
Again, I just knew that this thing is kind of like I guess it's the idea of the golem, like something coming to life, instead of a figure of clay, it's this wooden figure. And I just knew that in the script that he'd sit there for the whole movie. And he'd sit there for the whole film, and I just thought it'd be interesting to to have something that looks very creepy, but it's not really doing a whole lot. And even that the actors are kind of moving around. I just thought there could be something kind of darkly comedic about that. It's not like they've put it in the room upstairs and we're hearing the footsteps upstairs. The kind of more classic horror trope. It's in that back room, but it was sitting in the chair, but now it's standing by the window. I just the idea of it would be this tool that she's bringing with her to exact her revenge, but she has it out in the open. It's just it's just sitting there for the whole film. It was kind of the idea of it, I guess.
Well, the suspense and the blending of the supernatural with the natural is masterful. You really separated yourself from everyone else with these two movies. I really mean that. I feel like right now there's Blumhouse, A24, and Damian McCarthy. I feel like you're in your own little category right now if people have seen your movies because you're just doing shit differently and you're doing it really well. How difficult is it to write and film a story with those types of balances, with that type of the blending of the supernatural with the natural and the suspense? And what were your inspirations, or are your inspirations, when you're writing stuff like that?
Hard to know where I think there's just a part of my brain that's always just, for whatever reason, it's just always working on this stuff. It's always thinking about horror or sequences for some reason. Who knows? I know every day I'm jotting down some idea. It's like, oh, that could be good. And I wouldn't know what if it could be a character or just like a sequence that could be creepy. And I guess just trying to build a story around it. Then I've said it before that I always saw this interview with Guillermo del Toro, and he was saying that you like to start with images. You kind of start, that would be a cool image, and then because it's a film, so obviously it has to look interesting. But then build out from that. Kind of like find a story around that. And it was, I think, even the desk bell. I picked up that desk bell that's in Oddity like 10 years ago or something. So it just looks interesting. The bell looks interesting. And then it was like, oh yeah, but what if it was haunted? And then he slowly starts to kind of build out from that. But then the idea could sit there for years going, it's a haunted desk bell, but I don't really know what to do with it. And somehow then it'll find its way suddenly into a script. And I find that a lot.
That's pretty cool. Now, do you find most of these ideas kind of sit with you for a while before you get around to them?
Yeah, for a long time. Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of stuff there that's just... it might, I'd move in and out of scripts, or what would you say? Yeah, you'd have an idea, but maybe not know what to do with it. But sometimes it's good because you can just sit there for a very long time, and then one day be like, I know exactly how to end the film because I've had this in my back pocket for a long time, and suddenly you find yourself using it. I think it's better in it to leave ideas and scripts sit there for as long as you possibly can. Like even one of the things with Caveat, where I'd love to remake it in some ways because it was definitely the fastest thing I've written. It was done so quickly because it was such a tiny amount of money, and the money was there now. So it was like, okay, well, we better go now because if we lose the money, we're in trouble. And I had written other things that I'd wanted to make, but there was no way anybody was going to give me financing to make them because I had no track record other than the short films. But with Oddity, it was a much slower process. I wrote it, I left it alone, came back to it, added some stuff to it. And I find that's just the way I write now. I've got 2 or 3 other scripts, and they're very much like, they've been slowly building up over the last year, 2 years or whatever. And it's just better. It's just a much better way to write, I think.
We want to thank you again for joining us today. And do you have any upcoming projects you're working on that you'd like to talk about?
I'm writing a lot now, which is good. And I have one other thing that I'd really like to do. It's kind of like, it's just another Irish horror film, but it's about a guy coming from America and ends up in this very lonely part of Ireland. He's surrounded by strange characters. So yeah, just kind of, I think it builds on what Oddity is. It's kind of similar to that again, but I think you'd very much know, even when I look at the script now, I'd very much know, that feels like Caveat and Oddity, and now this thing. So yeah, fingers crossed that we get to film that maybe into the year or next year, and all going well. But you never know. It's anytime a film gets made, it's a bit of a miracle.
And where can people keep up with you online?
I'm so bad at social media. I don't really use it. I have an Instagram account, but and I should really make more use of it, because it is, it is nice to connect with people and just share now that the film is doing well, and kind of promote it. So I guess on Instagram I'm how's the movie going? So I'm quite easy to find that way.
Well, again, we want to thank you for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure getting to talk to you.
Yeah,
Great.
thanks, Damian.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks to all the horror hounds and smokers out there for tuning in. Thank you again to Damian McCarthy for joining us today. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow us online, High on Horror 420. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. I think I got them all. And as always, send in your PPA questions at highonhorror420@gmail.com, or any of our social media sites. You can send us a message there as well. And check out our website, highonhorror.com. And join us next week, and we'll be reviewing Imaginary. So, guess I'll about wrap her up. Catch you later.
See you next week.